Amar Beitzah 20. So if a person says, Harei alai toda, ve'etzei bo yedei chagiga, person commits to bringing a korban toda, but says as part of the t'nai that I want it to fulfill my korban chagiga, because we said korban chagiga has to come from chulin. So if I already have a korban toda designated, it's against the technical law to use it as a chagiga because it's not coming from the chulin. But the Gemara wants to know that if I start as a chulin behema, maybe would I make it a toda, and at the same time I designate it as a chagiga, sort of to kill two birds with one stone? Would that work? Or in a similar vein, harei nazir. Now, when a person becomes a nazir at the end of his naziris after 30 days, he has to shave his hair, and then he has to bring korbanos, 3 korbanos. One of them, which, whatever the korbanos are. And he is a farmer, and he lives in Tel Aviv. He doesn't want to schlep all of his produce to Yerushalayim. So he redeems the produce for money. It's Meiser Sheni money. He takes that money up to Yerushalayim. So it's also not chulin money, but what he says he wants to use the Meiser Sheni money to buy the korbanos for his naziris. Mahu. Amar le nadir v'ena yotze, nazir v'ena mekaleh. What he said that he wanted to bring a toda, he has to bring a toda, but he's not yotze with the korban chagiga with it. Same thing, he becomes a nazir, but he can't use the Meiser Sheni money to buy the korbanos. So he makes a t'nai, but we don't accept the full words of the t'nai. And the Gemara gives another example of that. Give $400 to Chaim Yankel. Ula Nasiv Barti. And then he shall marry my daughter. So, boy nasiv. Boy loy nasiv. He gets his money, but the daughter, if he wants to marry her, he can. But if he doesn't want to marry her, he doesn't have to marry her. The reason why you can separate his words, because he said first give the $400. Then he said, and if he wants to marry, I'll agree to it. But if he said, I want him to marry my daughter, and if he marries my daughter, I'll give him $400. So that's a different story. If he marries her, he gets the money. Yosef Meremus learned this sugi in his name. Do you learn that way? We learn a different way. We learn the way Reish Lakish asked Rav Yochanan, period. And the halacha of paskins the way the Gemara does. And the halacha also is if a shchiv mara says give $400 to Chaim Yankel and let him marry my daughter, he can. That's a gift. He doesn't have to marry the daughter. But if he says it the other way, then it's a t'nai. He doesn't get the money unless he marries. Tani Tanaka made Rav Yitzchak Barava. Vayakrevesa ola vayaseh kamishpa. You shall offer the ola, and you shall do according to the dinim of an ola. Kimishpat oilas nadava. Limer alos chova shetuuna smicha. the Torah doesn't say anywhere that an olah that you're mechuyev to bring, like an oilus re'iyah, like when you go up to the Beis Hamikdash once every 3, by oiler regalim, it doesn't say that you have to do smicha. But by an oilus nedava, it does say that you have to do smicha. From this process, we learn that all the dinim of the olah are the same.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Hi, Johnny.
I just want to, it's almost, it's about half hour. I just want to wish everyone a good yontif.
Good yontiv.
Enjoy.
Good yontif.
And till the next time.
How many days you holding? How many days you holding, Johnny?
Guess. Give me one guess. You're right. That's one of the benefits that Nefesh doesn't tell you about.
He's holding a half a day now, before.
Half a day. Oh, not sure about a half a day.
Chatzi lachem, chatzi lachem.
Okay, have a good yontif.
Good yontif.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
So we're on Chaf Amud Aleph near the bottom. That it says by an oilos, a private donative olah, that you have to v'samach yadov alav, v'samach yado. And this din now that where it says vayaseh kamishpat tells me that all the dinim of an olah are similar. So you'd have to do smicha for an olas chova as well. Armelei, the Armel Chamani. Who told you that's halacha? Beis Shammai. This is Beis Shammai. The lo gamri shalmei choiva mishalmei nedava. Beis Shammai does not learn the dinim of a shlomim that you must bring, like a korban chagiga, from a shlomim that is a donative shlomim. And therefore, and he doesn't learn that, so therefore, but he learns the din of olah. Because the Beis Hillel, even the Gamri Shalmei Chavim Mishalmei Nedava, Beis Hillel already learns the dinim of a obligatory shlomim from a donative shlomim. Oilos Chavim Nami Lo Teboikra. So the din of an olah that you have to do smicha would not require a pasuk. So it's only Beis Shammai. Because he learns also the Gamri Oilos Nedava. Just like Beis Hillel learns the dinim of a Shalmei Chavim from Shalmei Nedava, he learns the din of an Oilos Chavim from an Oilos Nedava. How do you know Mimai de Beis Hillel Shalmei Chavim Mishalmei Nedava Gamri? Where do you see that Beis Hillel learns the dinim of a obligatory shlomim from a donative shlomim? Maybe Dilma Oilos Chavim Gamri. Maybe he learns that din from an obligatory olav, olas chava gufa boikra, and maybe an olas chava requires this pasuk. Why would it be different from a donative shlomim where he doesn't learn it chekain matsuyin? It's very common. It's much more common than an obligatory shlomim. Maybe just like we would not learn the din of a shlomim choiva from shlomim dava because it's much more common. So maybe I won't learn oilas choiva from oilas dava because an oil is different shekain kolil, because it's completely consumed by the fire. El asya mi benaya. It's sort of like a common denominator from the two. You could learn it together. The Savri Beis Shammai Shalmei Chavim Lo Boi Smicha? I don't understand. Does Beis Shammai hold that an obligatory shlomim doesn't require smicha? I'll show you that he does hold that it needs smicha. Vatanya, I'm Rav Yosi. Lo nechleku Beis Shammai Beis Hillel al smicha atzma shetzarich. Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai do not argue that the korban needs smicha. On the proximity of when you have to do the smicha as it relates to the shchita. You don't have to do the smicha right before the shechita. Therefore, Beis Shammai says on Yontif, you do the smicha erev Yontif, and the next day when you shecht it, you don't need the smicha right next to the shechita. Ubeis Hillel rin tzorich. That's why Beis Hillel allows you to do the shechita and the smicha on the Yontif. So the Gemara says, "Who Amar ki haytana?" He holds like a different Tanya. The Tanya, Amar of Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, loy nechleku Beis Shammai Beis Hillel tekef l'smicha shechita the tzorich. He holds that they don't argue regarding that issue, that they both agree that the smicha has to take place right before the shechita. Al ma nechleku ala smicha atzma. Whether bichlal the korban requires smicha. Shebeis Shammai amrim eino tzorich, doesn't require smicha. Ubeis Hillel amrim tzorich. Torah Rabbanan. Ma'isa bil lazokin shevia loso lazara lismach aleha biyontiv. Hillel, according to Beis Hillel, are supposed to do smicha on yontiv on an ola. So he brought his ola to the Azara. Chavrul of Talmidei Shammai Azokin. So there were some Talmidim of Shammai who hold that you don't do an ola on yontiv. Amar lo mati v'shel beima zu. What kind of beima is this? So Amar lahem the keva he and there is no ola that is in a keva. So he told him it's a female, and therefore it's a shlomim. Uzivchei shlomim avesi. And kishkesh lahem biznava. He like put the tail to cover the genitalia, so that they wouldn't check too carefully to identify whether it was a male or female. That satisfied them, so they went away. However, also ayom gavri yodam shel Beis Shammai Beis Hillel, because it was this Hillel was sort of hiding his halacha because of Das Shammai. That day, the spirit of Shammai, they were stronger than the spirit of Beis Hillel. They quickly wanted to gather in the Sanhedrin and paskin like Beis Shammai, all the halachas. There was a elder Zokin, one of the students of Shammai, Ubaba ben Buta Shmo, who understood that the halacha is like Beis Hillel. V'shalach vehevi kol tzon kedesh b'Yushalayim v'mina bazar. He brought all the most beautiful sheep in all of Yerushalayim, brought them to the Azar. The Omar. The din is you can be soymech today on Yontif, because like we hold like Beis Hillel. The strength reverted back to Beis Hillel, and they paskin halach like Beis Hillel. And nobody argued at all. There was another Talmud of Beis Hillel who brought his oila to do smicha. But so Talmud of Beis Shammai. Talmud of Beis Shammai found him Amar lo mazu smicha. What is the smicha that you're doing? Which is going against the words of Beis Shammai. Amar lo mazu shtika. Why aren't you silent? The halacha is not like you. Shitko ben Azifa. So they told her, shut up. V'halachlo. And the Beis Shammai went away. So, Amar Abai Hilka Chaitzur Merabanan, a Talmud Chacham. The Amar Lechavre Milsa, who friend tells him something, Lo lahader le Milsa Tfemi my Amar Lechavre. Should not say more in response to what he said to you in the beginning. The EU Amar le Mazu Smicha, the Kamahar le Mazu Shtika. So he sort of equalized his response to what he was told. Tanya Amar lem Beis Hillel Beis Shammai. For example, on Shabbos, we're not allowed to shecht for private reasons. Mutra legavoa, you're allowed to shecht korbanos in the base of Migdash, for example, the Orla Satomid. Mokam shemutra lehedyot. Now on Yontif, you're allowed to shecht chulin. Eino din shum mutar legavo. Then certainly you should be able to shecht any korban, whether it's an ola, whether it's a shlamid, on yontif, to the Beis Hamikdash. So Beis Hillel is trying to deflect the din of Beis Shammai. I'll prove to you from donative offerings, a donated olo shlami. Shemuter lehedyot v'asr legavoa. Jake, I'm teaching Daf Yomi. Let me call you right back. Okay. A Nedar Nedavos can shecht on yontif for himself for eating purposes. V'asr lishchot legavoa. On yontif, a person can shecht for himself, but he can't offer Nedar Nedavos in the Beis Hamikdash. So your raya that you can shecht for yourself is no proof, because you see other examples where you can shecht for yourself on yontif, but you can't shecht. Everybody agrees, Nedar v'Nedavos, you can't shecht on yontif. Beis Hillel only allows you to shecht obligatory offerings like a korban chagiga or an oilus re'iyah. Or Beis Hillel, malan Nedar v'Nedavos she'ein kavul b'zman. You can't give a raya from the Nedar v'Nedavos because the Nedar v'Nedavos are not connected to time. You can bring them anytime. Timer ba'oilus re'iyah she'kavul b'zman. Oilus re'iyah has to be brought on yontif. Amalan Beis Shammai avzuin kavul b'zman. It's not necessarily so, says Beis Shammai, that an oilus re'iyah is not so tied to time. Desnan, mi shalochag b'yontif rishon shulchag. Person didn't bring his korban chagig on the first day of yontif. Choygig v'holach kol haregel kulo. You have tashlumin. You can bring any day of the yontif. So you see, it's not so tied to time. The yontif achron shulchag, even, for example, Shmini Atzeres, also there's a din of chagig and there's tashlumim. That's why there's a machlokas whether you say tachanun the rest of the month of Tishrei. In Litvish yeshivas, they start saying tachanun immediately after Shmini Atzeres. Most minhagim is we don't say tachanun until Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan. Why? It's totally in this issue whether there's tashlumim after Shmini Atzeres for 7 days, just like there is after the first day.
After Sukkot also, you have the same.
I'm saying after Sukkot, which is in Tishrei.
Yeah.
That means Chodesh Nisan, everybody holds you don't say Tachnun.
Right.
And we said Tachnun until Yom Kippur. Between Yom Kippur and Yom Tif, we don't say Tachnun. There's a shaila, there's a debate in halacha. Do we say Tachnun the last 7 days of Chodesh Tishrei after Shmini Atzeres? We'll see. In our minhag is not to say Tachnun. But there are minhagim that they do because of the issue whether there's full 7 days of, or whether you learn the din of Tashlumim to Tachnun or not. But everybody holds there is Tashlumim if you didn't bring a Korban Chagiga even by Shmini Atzeres. So you have time after Yontif. So the Beis Shammai is arguing that even the Oilus Re'iyah is not so tied to time. Armel and Beis Hillel, Avzu Gavul Azman, it's still considered a time-bound korban disnan. Over haregel v'lo yichag enu chayv machriso. If the yontif is over, you don't have to bring any more korbanos. It's over ubatel the mitzvah. So it is tied to time. Armelam Beis Shammai v'lo kvanemar lachem. It says kol asher yochal lachem, kol asher yochal chol nefesh hu levado yaseh lachem. The pasuk says anything that for eating purposes you can do for you. How do they darshan? Lachem v'lo legavoa. Means you can shecht for personal eating purposes, but not for korbanos. Armelam Beis Hillel v'lo kvanemar laHashem. It says v'chagosem oso chag laHashem. Called to laHashem. Any korban to Hashem can be offered on Yom Tov. You can't lachem v'lo l'nochrim. You can't shech for goyim on Yom Tov, and v'lo l'klovim has to be for you. Now, aber shol omer b'losh nacheres. Abba Shaul learned this whole diyun in a different language. Uma b'makom shekiras chastuma. Kiras rabcha psucha. For example, Shabbos. You can't cook. Your oven is closed, but you're allowed to light fire in the base of Mikdash to be makter korbanos on Shabbos. So where your kitchen is closed, kiras rabcha psucha, the kitchen of your base of your Rabbi Hakadosh Baruch Hu is open. B'makom shekiras psucha on Yontif, when you're allowed to cook, eino din shekiras rabcha psucha. Certainly, the kitchen of the base of Mikdash should be open. You should be able to bring any korbanos you want. V'chein bedin shelo yesh l'chon chamole b'shulchan Rab Charekon. You on Yontif are preparing meals like Shlomo HaMelech. So your table is going to be full and the table of your Rebbe is going to be empty? So Abba Shaul had a little different language. And b'may kamiflagi. How did Abba Shaul argue with the original Baraisa? Marsov and the Dorm Dovas craven beyontiv. Abba Shaul held all korbanos can be offered on Yontiv because the kitchen is open. So Abba Shaul, against the first Shita, holds that even the Dorm and the Dovas, even donative offerings can be offered on Yontiv. Umar Savar ain't craven beyontiv. Amravunal Divria Oyman the Dorm and Dovas ain't craven beyontiv. The first Baraisa we learned, according to the shot that the Dorm and the Dovas are not offered. Don't tell me Lotema mi deraisa mechze chazu. That really Nedarim and Nedavas are permitted midaraisa. V'Rabbanon who the Gazribu, and it's Rabbanon who were goyzer gzeira shemayisha, because maybe you'll keep all your donative offerings for months, and you won't be makriv them, and then you'll be over bal ta'acher. So we don't want you to do that. Don't tell me that this is only gzeira Rabbanon. Elafilu midaraisa nami l'chazu. Really, I'll tell you that midin Torah, you're not allowed to be makriv in the Dorm and the Davis on Yontif, according to that Mandomer. He proves it from the following. The Hoshtei Alechem, on Shavuos, you have to bring shnei chvasim, 2 sheep, and you have to bring 2 loaves of bread. Now, the Hoshtei Alechem chovis hayom ninu, you have to bring the Shtei Alechem today. V'leka lemigzer shemayisha. There's no gzeira that I'm going to keep them around, either the animals or the bread. There's no svara like that because I have to bake them on Yontiv. However, Shtei Alechem is not baked when Shavuos falls on Shabbos or when Shvuah falls on Shabbos. Because according to this Mandomar, anything that you're not muchrak, because therefore the Shtei Alechem has to be baked before. The Shtei Alechem has to be baked for Erev Yontiv, since you have the ability to do it Erev Yontiv. And therefore it's not Doichel Shabbos and Yontiv. It's not similar to the Korban Chagiga, Shezman Shchitosu Kavua Beregel. And Ve'eno Yochel Lahagdim, you can't shecht it before Yontif, but the Shtei Alechem can be baked before. Iboilu. We asked the same question. According to Mandomer, that Nedarim and Nedavos are not offered on Yontif. Ovar v'shachat mai. He has a donative shlomim, and he shechts it on Yontif. What's the din? Rav Amar Zerkas Adam Amanas Latir Basar Bachila. You're allowed to do Zrikas Adam, and therefore, remember, you can't eat meat of a korban unless you do Zrikas Adam. Rav says, therefore, you can eat the meat. Rav Amar Zerkas Adam Amanas Lahakter Mum La'erev. You also have to do Zrikas Adam in order to put the innards on the Mizbeach. So he says that you can do Zrika, but not in order to enable you to eat, but it's enabled the korban to be completed by putting the emurim on the Mizbeach. My binayu. What's the difference between Rava and Rabbi Ravuna? Ik binayu, nitma basar, osha avad. So for example, according to Rava, who said it's totally in you eating the meat, if the meat got tameh, or got lost, so l'Rav lo zorik. You wouldn't do the zrikas adam because it's unnecessary. L'Rav Ravuna zorik, because he's telling you that the purpose of doing the zrika is not for the eating of the meat. It's for being maktir the chalovim adam mizbeach. So you would do the zrikas adam even if the meat had gotten tomei or lost. Beisvei, I'll ask you a stira on this notion we just brought up. Kifsei atzeres, the two sheep that are brought on Shavuos. Sheshachton shelo lishman. And you had in mind that it's a different korban. Or you shechted them either before its time or after its time. So Hadam Yizorek, you still throw the blood. V'habasri yachel, and the meat can be eaten. So it doesn't trafe up the korban. Because we have a principle called azvachim shenizbechu shloshman ksherim likari v'necholim. It's lo alu lo bailam l'shem chayva. However, in Isa Shabbos lo yizrok. Now, it's also to cook or roast meat on Shabbos. So what are you going to eat it raw? So there you shouldn't do the zrika and don't eat the meat. And the imzorak hurtza. Amanas lakter mun le'erev. If he threw the blood, you could put the emurim on the mizbech at night. So, but the evidence does work. Okay, we'll stop here. So again, we're going to learn Sukkos at 6 o'clock both days. 6 o'clock both days in the shul, and we will also learn Wednesday night. We'll do both blot by Zoom. Tuesday, Wednesday blot will be taught by Zoom.
Yeah, I wish just that most of the on here on this side of town, Eliza, myself, Harold, even Kenny, could have learned in somebody's sukkah maybe.
So we used to learn in Johnny's sukkah.
But it's far from Mario. It's far from Mario.
Well, Mario does it by Zoom anyways. He doesn't come.
We could. If you want to do it in my sukkah.
We could do it in Mario's sukkah, which is close.
Yeah, but no, but that's all. No, but that's much. There's Mario's the single guy, so everybody is on this Ellen.
You know what? We could do it at Harold's.
Yeah, do it at mine at 6 o'clock.
Kenny's is next to Harold, and Walter and I can go there. Elazar, would you go to Harold's?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
6 o'clock.
Yeah, 6
Let's
o'clock.
do it 6 o'clock
Tuesday.
at Harold's. And Mario, if you can come. If not, I'll teach it Wednesday night over Zoom.
Okay,
What
so
time? What time?
Okay.
At 6. What time
Yeah,
is
but
that?
to walk the shul from Mincha.
8:15. Wednesday night,
8:15?
8:15.
Okay.
Yeah,
But we'll have to tell Kenny, Harold, tell Kenny and Shul that you were doing it at your.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Yeah, but I'm
let's
just
do
saying
it.
6 o'clock might be too late
Let's do
because to walk to
5:45.
shul,
Do it 5:45.
5:45. Okay.
5:45.
Beautiful.
Good idea.
Okay. Harold. Okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
Fire
Just
Harold.
5:45 Tuesday, Wednesday at my house. Fine. I'll put it-
5:45. It's